Hey everybody, welcome back, and here we go. Time for another tier list. I'm going to try to be a little more efficient this time in terms of time. That last video took a long time. My voice was wearing out by the end. But I have the library open. I've got you on full screen. I'm going to start off the table a little smaller this time, give us a little more room to work with. But without further ado, let's dive into the Silent. Once again, I'm going to rank these probably assuming a higher Ascension, versus a low Ascension, not necessarily 20 or the Heart, but just my experience with the cards overall. And I would say, like, once you get past Ascension 10 and Ascender's Bane is in the mix, that's where, the rankings start to maybe settle into their proper places a little. And the Silent's a tricky one because I don't think I've really figured out the Silent ever. Somehow I got a little lucky and I think we won against the Heart pretty quickly. But there's a lot of bangers in the Silent card pool. I'll tell you that right now. I kind of feel like the Silent might not be as evenly distributed. I kind of feel like the Silent could be top and bottom heavy. But I did not rank these ahead of time. I did not look at anybody else's lists outside of what I've watched in the past. I'll try to form my own opinions, and I will also try to give you some insight as to why I think the way I do. Because I feel like there are some cards on the Silent that some people say are good that I am not seeing it as much. But let's get into it. Accuracy. Obviously, shivs deal additional damage, first of all, and I do have the compendium open over here. It does look like this tier list is using older versions of the cards. I think this one says shivs do 3 additional damage. The official latest version of Slay the Spire 1, 4 additional damage, and then 6 on upgrade. So I will go by the official, version of the game that's running for me right now. But accuracy, I think, is pretty good. Obviously, a little bit limited in terms of how you, well, first, I'll fix that in a second. Doesn't work with every deck. I mean, it literally becomes worthless in a dead card reward. But I like accuracy. I think if you're running shivs, it's a very good card. I would put this in the middle somewhere, I think. I'm going to start us off with a B tier accuracy. I think that's very reasonable. And before we press on, this is not right. We'll go D tier here. I bring back Buns. We'll go Buns with 3 Z's this time. Buns tier has returned. I like Buns tier. Accuracy. Fine card. Not going to blow the doors off anybody, but if you're running shivs, I think you're pretty much always happy to have it. And with Blade Dance being a pretty strong common card, I think it can work there, even in Act 1. Acrobatics. I like Acrobatics. This is probably the card that went from the lowest area of my tier list to the highest. It has traversed the most in my time of playing Slay the Spire. I feel like Acrobatics is easily B tier, but I'm gonna make a case that Acrobatics belongs in A tier. Card draw, I think we said this for the Ironclad. Card draw, critical in every character. You do have some ways to generate energy on the Silent, not a ton, but it's not impossible. But discard also generally a valuable addition, and you kind of get your selection of 3 cards to discard or whatever you already had. I am going to rank these, by the way, so if I get another card in B, I'll try to rank them within the tiers as best possible. Obviously, most of these are situational. I think everybody knows that about Slay the Spire at this point. But I'll still do my best to give you my rankings as I see fit, despite the situational nature of all of these. Adrenaline. Easy S tier for me. I cannot imagine many situations where you're not happy to have Adrenaline. Just the energy alone, even without the draw sometimes, is good. And then draw 2 on top of that. I mean, that's options and the ability to play those options. And Adrenaline, I believe, upgrades to more energy. Let's see. Yep, 2 energy on the upgrade, so even better. If you have an expensive deck, it's great. If you have a deck that wants to play a lot of cards, it's still great. Kind of a one-size-fits-all. I would make the argument that Adrenaline is maybe one of the best cards in the game, period. Maybe a little bit of a downside against the time eater in the heart, just the smallest bit. But Adrenaline's a top tier card amongst all characters, no questions asked. After Image. This is where it gets tricky right out of the gate, and it is a top tier card. There's no doubt in my mind that After Image is extremely strong, and it was a big part of our heart victory. Maybe you get more than one of them. You get 2 block, you counter the Heart's Beat of Death. Even without that, if you're just playing a lot of cards, you get some 0 cost going, or maybe a Bullet Time, or Calculated Gamble, or Acrobatics even. So many ways to play cards and just gain free block. I love After Image. Obviously, the duplication potion play against the Heart for us was very good. I think I would say After Image, especially in the context of a silent tier list, I think After Image might be a hair better than Adrenaline, especially in higher Ascensions. They're both amazing. This is classic NBA draft, like you're 1A and 1B. I mean, I'm never unhappy to see either of these. How often do you decline After Image? Just think about that. Almost never. Even in a deck where you don't play a ton of cards, I still think it's pretty good. So yeah, solid S tier on After Image. Alchemize. I mean, I guess we just have all these seem to be in alphabetical order, and Alchemize is just it's another great card. And I know we're going top heavy here, but I think Alchemize is an S tier card. Very good unupgraded potions to me are just the best cards in the game, and you play them for free. And on top of that, Alchemize upgraded is 0 cost. Next thing you know, you get like a toy Ornithopter. Maybe you get what's the Sacred Bark? Your potions become more effective. And then if you have that 0 cost Alchemize, some card draw. Next thing you know, you're getting potions constantly. Actually kind of an underrated combo. I think we did try this at one point. We had Alchemize and the Apparitions, but with the Strange Spoon. I mean, that's value on value on value right there, dude. You can get extra potions out the wazoo. So yeah, Alchemize in S tier card. I don't think anybody's gonna fight me on that one. Now, All Out Attack is the first one we've seen in a minute that's not going to be an S tier card. I like All Out Attack, though. I don't think it's terrible. I think when everyone kind of first see this, when you're new to the game, you think, oh, discard. I don't want to not have control over the discard. But it's really not as bad as you think. You can kind of control when you play it. You might just have a card that discards, you give yourself a high chance to discard like a Tactician, or something like that. Or maybe it's the last card you play besides a Curse. I mean, that's pretty good too. But where to put you? Sorting Hat question. Upgrades to 14 damage? I think I like All Out Attack in B tier. I could see the case for it being a little higher. Obviously, the uncommon nature and being able to do some AoE in Act 1 is pretty good. I feel like I've made accuracy work more frequently. But I like All Out Attack. It's a good card. I think it's a high-end B tier card. We'll have to see where some of the rest of this falls as I go along. Maybe I'll self-correct a little bit. 1,000 cuts. Here's the problem with 1,000 cuts. And this is not an S tier card. I would make the case that 1,000 cuts is going to be on the bottom area. 1,000 cuts, if it upgraded to 1 cost, I think would be much better, even without the 2 damage per hit on the upgrade. So if change out 2 damage to all enemies for 1 damage to all enemies, but 1 cost, I think 1,000 cuts becomes much more playable. It's just so hard to play. I mean, if you get it early, it's kind of bad because it's like, most of your turn, and then you got to play just to get the value back of like a strike. I mean, just think of it compared to All Out Attack. You got to play 10 cards to hit all enemies for 10 damage, and that's after playing it on 1 turn where you probably can't play much. It's not impossible to make this work. I think there's times where if you don't have kind of steamrolling damage later in the game, you might want 1,000 cuts, especially if you have an energy relic, but I don't even think 1,000 cuts is C tier. I'm kind of prepared to put 1,000 cuts in buns. Like, it's not great. It's not great. I don't think 1,000 cuts is that good. But wow, let's talk about a card that is really I've really changed my tune on this one. I used to think backflip was like a meh at best. I do not think backflip is meh anymore. I think block plus draw for 1 all packaged up. You know, 5 block, not a lot. Upgrades to 8, you know, it's just basically a defend in that way. But drawing cards with is just so good on the silent. I really slept on that. I think having like 3 backflips is like totally playable. And we've shown, I think we've demonstrated that a little bit. As soon as I started, you know, transitioning my later runs to include backflip as my common card selections more frequently, I feel like we really picked it up. And I think backflip deserves an A tier. I could maybe see scooting this down a bit, but it is a... I'm debating if I like it better than acrobatics. I don't think so. It is less draw, although you do get some block kind of packaged up in there. I think I'm pretty happy with A tier on backflip. I think backflip belongs in A tier. Let's talk about backstab. Backstab is kind of one of those things, if I got it really early, by the way, I'm going to start kind of reading some of the cards that are on the compendium screen in case they're different. This one is not. 0 cost, innate, 11 damage, exhaust, 15 damage on the upgrade. I would take this early in a run. I think on Act 1, you can really get through some fights. The innate kind of becomes a little bit, not a curse, but it's a little bit of a downside the later you get. You know, you might not want it anymore. But it's a good card, and I've taken it many times. And sometimes if you have maybe the ninja relics where you're playing a lot of cards is good, backstab can work there. I don't really think I can't remember the relic off the top that gives you, is it Ninja Scroll gives you some shivs? I mean, that gives you 4 attacks in turn 1, right? Something to be said for that if you have relics that combine with playing lots of cards, but I don't think backstab can do better than a C tier. It just doesn't scale well enough, although it certainly has a place in many silent runs if you get it early enough, and that's my position. Here's a card that I have tried to make work, Bane. I go back and forth on Bane. It's 1 cost, 7 damage, 7 again if the enemy has poison, so there's a condition there. 10 and 10 on the upgrade. I think Bane is not amazing. I think having a conditional kind of strike plus, you know, obviously it's a hair better than a strike unupgraded even without the poison, but it's not really enough. I mean, if I get it early and I don't have the poison, I'm kind of steering myself down a path. I think Bane is aight. Nah, yeah. I kind of like aight tier. I'll keep it C for the viewers in case it's the last one. I don't know if I is resonating like C does. I'll put Bane in C tier. I think I prefer backstab to Bane. And again, if we have to self-correct, we will. But I think, you know, given the choice on turn 1 between backstab or act level, what is it called in Slay the Spire? Floor 1 between backstab and Bane, I take backstab. Blade Dance, on the other hand, I think is another very, very, very strong card. I think it's actually not correct here. 2 shivs into your hand on the picture. It is 3 shivs upgrades to 4 in the latest patches of Slay the Spire 1. And that is a huge improvement, and it synergizes a lot. Blade Dance is one of those common cards that's like, wow, I'm happy to have you. If I get you early, we can start building around you. I'm not locked into shivs. Maybe I have some relics that work with you. But those relics are kind of packaged up in a little card that I can choose to play or not. It really, really gets you through the early game. And you can also kind of do some stuff with characters or with enemies that want to get hit a lot of times. And by want to get hit a lot of the time, I mean they do not want to get hit, but you get the idea. I don't think anybody's going to argue that Blade Dance feels good to play. I honestly am looking at this tier list so far. I don't think anything's that controversial here. Maybe that'll change as I start putting some in lower tiers. And Blur is not going to be in the bottom. Blur is a pretty good card. I don't think I have it as the same level as Backflip, though, but I would say I like it above Backstab, which means it probably belongs in B tier. Do I like it more than Accuracy? I don't think I like it more than accuracy, although it probably is more general utility than accuracy, but I might prefer it a little bit to all-out attack. That's debatable, but I think Blur is a pretty good card. It's one of those things where it's basically a defend, but if you have a ton of block generation somehow, if that's where your build is leaning, you are very happy to have Blur to carry over block to another turn. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can beat a Heart. That's the kind of thing that can get you through some Act 3 double boss fights. And that's the kind of thing that can get you through some elite fights. I mean, just imagine you get a couple after images, you generate 20 to 30 block. Next thing you know, you Blur. You lose a little bit of it, but you hang on to like 20 or 15 or whatever. It commands a certain type of deck, but Blur is a good card. Let's talk Bouncing Flask. I don't think that Bouncing Flask is that good. And it's funny because I really think I would have said Bouncing Flask is on the stronger side for a long time. But 2 cost, no way to get it down to 1. If you don't have energy, very tough to play. This is 3 poison to a random enemy 3 times, or 3 poison to a random enemy 4 times on the upgrade. Single enemy fight, I think this can work. If you have no other poison, but you have some sort of poison synergy, that might be a way to make this work. Like a Snecko Skull, that makes this a lot better. All of a sudden, you're doing 5 poison like 4 times, or 4 poison 4 times, or whatever it is. It's a lot more. But I think that's just impractical. I feel like playing it throughout the one last ride has made me realize there have not been a lot of runs where I was like, yeah, Bouncing Flask is really carrying the day here. And it's also an uncommon when there's several other uncommons I probably prefer. As far as ways to put poison on enemies, I don't think Bouncing Flask is very high on the list for me. I'll put it in D. I'm maybe leading C, but I think the Bouncing Flask is a D tier card. I just don't think it's that good. But if somebody wants to challenge me on that, I guess if I were to have a poison-focused build that maybe doesn't have quite enough, then I was going into the Heart or maybe another, like a Time Eater, like a single enemy fight in a boss, maybe I would take a late Bouncing Flask if I knew what I was up against. That might be like one use case, but that's pretty narrow. Bullet Time. Another one for a rare card. I don't think Bullet Time is overpowering. I don't hate it. I feel like unlike Bouncing Flask, there's ways I can think to make Bullet Time kind of pop. Really wants cheap early card draw. So, by the way, Bullet Time makes everything in your hand 0. You cannot draw further cards, but you could draw before you play it. And on top of that, upgrading it makes it a 2 cost instead of a 3 cost, which gives you the opportunity, even without an energy relic, to draw a few more cards, even at the cost of 1. So if you had acrobatics or backflip, that could work. So getting it turn 1 is good. Maybe having bag of prep makes this good. Backflip acrobatics obviously play nice with this. Even adrenaline, it makes it even better. But it needs help. It's not going to win the run on its own. But I don't think this is buns or even D tier. I mean, I would put this above Bouncing Flask, I think. I'd probably put it something like this. I'm debating if it goes below Bane. It's one of those things, if I get it like on a swap or an early reward, I might be able to lean into it a little bit. But it's unlike After Image, Adrenaline, and Alchemize in the rare tier. It's not like a snap pick by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, it's a build around, or I've already got what it takes to make Bullet Time go off, and I can get a tremendous amount of value. Yeah, C tier feels right to me. Burst. That's a little different. Now we're getting back into cards. Burst is amazing because I feel like it would be great on every character. It might even be busted on other characters, but the Silent has a lot of good skills. Anything that makes you duplicate stuff is generally good. I mean, think about, like, even just duplicating, like, a backflip. Like, that can be 10 to 16 block and then 2 to... Or, like, maybe... It's 4 cards, I guess, in that scenario. That's a lot. I mean, that's a common combo. Like, you can get that every time, pretty much. I mean, Burst Blade Dance, even, you can get 6 shivs, maybe even, like, 8 shivs. I mean, that can be multiple triggers of a relic. Like, even with something like Ornamental Fan, I mean, that's all that damage plus block plus any other synergies you have. And then the obvious super fun one is Burst Catalyst, which we didn't really actually get that combo very often in our one last ride, but Burst is a good card. I think I would probably, I mean, it's S tier. Silent has a lot of good S tier cards, I think, but I think Burst is a little better than Alchemize because they kind of go hand in hand. They're both good. Burst doesn't exhaust, and also the upgrade, your next 2 skills gets a little pricey at that point. I don't always think Burst is like a critical upgrade, actually. And Alchemize kind of is. Maybe that'll be my tiebreaker here. That's why I'll keep Burst above Alchemize, because Alchemize does kind of want that upgrade. Great card, though. I think that's an easy S tier. Let's talk Calculated Gamble. I don't know why I said it like that. Good card. I think this is another one. This is discard your hand. And draw new cards based on how many you discarded. Here's the thing. I think most new players, including myself at the time, see Calculated Gamble and think, you're losing a card here. Not as bad as it sounds, I think. On the upgrade, it does not exhaust. This is another one, and as we'll find the theme with many of these cards, it likes card draw. 0 cost, so like maybe I have some discard synergies, which I think tends to be a very powerful approach to deck building as the Silent. You get all those benefits and draw a bunch more cards. Maybe you have a tactician or 2 in there. Next thing you know, you got a whole new hand, got a little bit out of it, and then you play some more. I don't think Calculated Gamble will break into S tier. I don't put it quite on the same level as like an Alchemize. I think Alchemize is better. I'd rather have Alchemize given the choice between the 2. But I think I like it enough to put it in A tier. I think Calculated Gamble is like a top echelon card. Is that can I say that? Well, something like that. Do I like it better than Acrobatics? I think I do. I feel like Acrobatics is one of those things I learned to like it, then I started to take it too frequently early, and then Calculated Gamble is more of like, you can take this early and it can be good. But Acrobatics can maybe feel a little like a too much of an energy burden if you haven't set up for it yet. So I think I'll put Calculated Gamble just a smidge higher. But Blade Dance, I have a soft spot for Blade Dance. I think it'll remain a high A tier. I mean, for a common, it's maybe one of the best commons in the Silent pool. Let's talk about uncommons, though. Caltrops. Caltrops, let's make sure this matches. Yeah, whenever you are attacked, deal 3 damage back. 5 damage back on the upgrade. It's so tough, because there's some fights where Caltrops can be crazy. I mean, like, if I'm fighting the Hexaghost, I could see Caltrops being totally takeable. I feel like so many fights, though, this really does almost nothing. Like, if you got an enemy that's hitting you once per turn, that's like 2 turns to do 6 damage, and it costs you an energy and an earlier turn. For those who don't know about time value of money, I feel like that is a very applicable thing to Slay the Spire. Time valuable of playing cards. A time value of playing cards. You know, I want to play cards now. The more, the better. If I have to set up something, it's not quite as valuable to me. I would expect a little bit in return, aka interest. Go take a finance course, people. And I feel like Caltrops kind of like embodies that issue. It takes a lot to get the value out of it at that point. But you know, then you see the birds and you have Caltrops turn 1, and it feels maybe one of the most satisfying feelings in Slay the Spire. I don't like Caltrops that much. I don't know that I'm going to call it Buns tier, but it's... I'm looking at this list. I think I would put it in at least D. I think I like bouncing. I think I would put it here. That might be a hot take. I don't know how people feel about Caltrops, but I feel like I have struggled to make this work on high Ascensions, and it's slow to me. Outside of a few specific fights, or if I'm getting it right before the heart, I don't see it. But fight me on that. Catalyst. Okay. Catalyst is the most interesting card in the pile, because I really thought for a long time that Catalyst was like obviously the best card in the Silent like pool. Now I don't think that, and I don't even think it's an S tier. I think it's good, but I see Catalyst. I don't have Poison, It's nothing. Literally nothing. I get catalyst out of like a dead branch or a distraction or however else I can get to generate skills. Maybe a skill potion. Skill potion is kind of an interesting topic on the silent too, because you might there's a lot of duds, but that's a tier list for another day. I feel like catalyst, when you have some poison generation and maybe burst or maybe even a duplication potion or just more than one of them. Maybe you hit a duplication station on an event space or something. That's when Catalyst can really just end boss fights, and that's where I see the niche for Catalyst. I have definitely beaten the heart, not on the one last ride, but on my own, with Catalyst being the damage dealer on the heart. But that said, I don't even think I'm putting this in A tier. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I actually think I'll put it in B, but not even at the top of B. Too situational, but can be game-breaking. It's kind of one of those, like, extremely high potential value, but not extremely high guaranteed value. I'm okay with this ranking. Choke. Choke is tough. Now, if you get choke out of like one of those like ways I just said, maybe an attack potion or something, it's free. Or I just have an insane amount of energy and a lot of ways to play cards. Choke can do something. This is one that's tough though, because I feel like if I get it early, it's basically just forcing me to play 2 strikes and do a little extra damage. It doesn't quite do enough for me. It's 12 damage, and then every time I play a card, the enemy loses HP. 3 on the unupgrade, 5 on the upgrade. I think I'm ready to put Choke pretty low. Do I like it better than Caltrops? I think I like it better than Caltrops. But that's questionable. I might even like it better than 1,000 Cuts. I feel like there's a few more situations where Choke can do something. Versus 1,000 Cuts, which can just be impossible, and it eats up a rare card reward slot, or a boss reward or whatever. But yeah, Choke is tough. If I'm playing an insane amount of cards, it kind of has to be early too, because like by that point, if I'm late in the run, I still don't think Choke is like scaling enemies down to death. It does not scale with strength on the loses 3 HP or 5 HP. So. But early, it's real damage, and that can mean something. And if you're playing shivs, maybe you have some ways to generate shivs and block, like Cloak and Dagger, then Choke can be meaningful in that case. Cloak and Dagger, I feel like it's a little hate. I don't think it's game-breaking by any stretch, but it's a common. And if I don't have a ton of block, and I need to do a little damage, like early in the game, I get 2 shivs out of the upgrade too. I don't think Cloak and Dagger's horrible. I don't think I put it up there anywhere close to S or A or even B tier. Let's think about this. You get some block, you get some shivs. It's a little bit of everything. If I really kind of put my mind to it here, Iron Wave is like a little worse than this, right? I guess why does Cloak and Dagger feel better than Iron Wave? I guess on the upgrade, you do 8 damage and get 6 block, is that right? Basically, because you get 2 shivs. And then playing cards is kind of encouraged on the silent. Maybe that's why Cloak and Dagger feels better. It has a lot in common with Iron Wave. I would probably put this in C tier. I think it's more takeable than Bullet Time. I feel like depending on the run, and if I don't have a lot going for me, I've taken Cloak and Dagger many times in our one last ride, so I don't think I can put it lower than C. I probably think Backstab is generally a little better. Wow, look at this. 4 cards and 4 tiers and no buns yet. I feel like that might change. That might change. I see at least 1 buns tier coming up in the near future, but let's talk about Concentrate. I think Concentrate, which is discard 3 to gain 2, can be horrible early in the run. Basically unusable. You gotta have card draw out the wazoo. Now, if you're drawing an insane number of cards between relics and cards, then sure, I can see Concentrate working. But discarding 3 is a hefty discard. As much as I kind of like to discard, I better have a lot in there that gives me immediate value from discarding in order to make Concentrate worth it. Or I better have incredibly expensive cards or X-cost cards. It's very tough to put this above D tier, I think. Although I will admit, there were times in our playthrough where Concentrate totally came through for us. I think if you roll into it with Dead Branch, that can work. But that's tough to... I mean, there's no guarantees of that. That's a very unusual situation. I feel like Dead Branch is one of those relics where you get it, like, you know, infrequently, but somehow it becomes like the bar of, like, comparison in Slay the Spire. Concentrate is on the edge of buns here for me, but I don't think it's quite there. I might be willing to put it below Caltrops. I think Concentrate is so niche, even more so than Caltrops. And I don't get that satisfying bird kill with Concentrate, so... let's talk Corpse Explosion. This is an interesting one, because I feel like I said early on that I thought Corpse Explosion was in the conversation for best card in the game. Period. Not best card in the game. It's very, very, very good. I think that Corpse Explosion, the issue is, while the effect of dealing damage equal to the max HP of the enemy killed to all enemies is very strong, 6 poison is nothing to write home about for 2 energy. Even the upgraded, I think, 9. I'm going to check that here. Yeah, 9 on upgrade. Nothing amazing about that. I think I would knock this down out of S tier upon further reflection. Now, obviously, if you're fighting Donu Deka, or sometimes even the Spire, Sword, and Shield, this can just end a difficult fight for free. And there's a lot of hallway fights where that's good AoE. You just have to burst down one enemy. Kind of depends on what you're doing. Sorry about that. Kind of depends on what you're doing. I think it still belongs... For me, I think Corpse Explosion has paid off enough that I would still put it in A tier. It's a powerful card. And I do think that it's kind of like an interesting design. They did a nice job. Man, what else can we say? Slay the Spire team is amazing. And fun effects. Corpse Explosion, definitely one of them. Crippling Cloud. Everyone tells me Crippling Cloud is like insane. And I don't get it. Okay, you get some AoE and 2 weak. Weak is obviously very powerful. If I have Paper Crane, I think makes weakness even stronger. Then yeah, Crippling Cloud is just an incredible block. I guess in that sense, it's kind of an AoE block card, and you get 2 turns of it. That's pretty good. It does cost 2. Maybe I fall into the trap of taking it too early. I think I remember people putting this in like S tier. I don't think I see that. I honestly don't think I see it in A. I don't think so. All right, hot take here incoming. I'm going to put Crippling Cloud in high B. I might be willing to put it here. I don't know how it compares to accuracy. Not a very fair comparison. I'm kind of talking myself into the big AoE weakness being worth it a lot of the time. You know, poison is something. It's not nothing, and you can upgrade it. Let's see. I think it's more poison. I'm going to double check myself on that one. Yeah, 7 poison instead of 4. I mean, that's a pretty good upgrade. And then, you know, obviously if you have poison synergies, this becomes much more playable. But I think Crippling Cloud might be a little overrated by the community. I think it's in the Hall of Very Good. Maybe not the Hall of Fame. But Dagger Spray, I mean, here's another hot take. I think Dagger Spray is an insanely good common. I feel like this is one of those cards, AoE damage, you like to have it. If I get it early, I'm very happy to have it. But it really loves an upgrade. I mean, I think 8 damage for 1 is already not horrible. And then 6 damage for 1, and then it scales with strength and its AoE. I mean, you could also think like you can get Venom going with this. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make Dagger Spray a helpful card. And I think Dagger Spray might, it might be A tier. High B, low A. I mean, how many? I mean, I'm never unhappy in Act 1 to see Dagger Spray come along. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's not even horrible late in the game. Like, it really, really helps. Like, I mean, think like the Sentry fight in Act 1 is pretty helpful, but even against just single enemies, you can do some damage. I think I'm ready to give Dagger Spray the nod. Welcome to the big leagues, Dagger Spray. I will say, you know, this is a card that commands an upgrade. Pretty much most of the time, unless you have an extremely high priority alternate upgrade early in the game. If I have Dagger Spray, I'm probably going to go ahead and make that 12 for 1, which is like very strong to me. Good card. Dash. No, Dash is interesting. I think this one has fallen off for me. I think it's an acceptable card a lot of the time. Like, but is that what we're going for? We used to go for pretty good. I think Dash is the definition of I mean, 2 cost, but, you know, 10 and 10, that's pretty good. Upgrades to even more. 12 and 12? Let's check. I know I'm checking on my other screen here. 13 and 13, that is pretty good. But yeah, a little bit of everything. I feel like Dash, when I, like, in practice to me, it doesn't quite fit in anywhere. The only exception I can think of is, like, if I have Snecko Eye or Bullet Time in my deck, then I can see some times where Dash becomes a lot better. I don't know if I can go above C for this. Put it like in low C compared to what we have so far. Very evenly distributed stack so far. I actually thought we would be a little more top heavy. Maybe there's cards coming that I don't see yet. But let's talk Deadly Poison. Another common. I feel like Deadly Poison is okay. I feel like it's grown on me. I mean, I think 5 poison unupgraded, 7 upgraded for 1. And you can kind of target it, right? I mean, like, think of how many times we got the Hexaghost or the Guardian. And, you know, you fight the Guardian, you get 15 to 20 poison on the Guardian. I mean, it's over. Like, you pretty much just have to kind of, like, hold on a little bit, and the poison will do the rest. So I feel like in that sense, it can be good in Act 1. Falls off a little bit. But even if you get a Catalyst, you play 2 or 3, you know, deadly poisons and then Catalyst, that's like, I mean, that's 30 poison, maybe more. That's not bad. But I don't think I can go super high on this. This is not, as far as the commons go, like, this is not in the same tier as Dagger Spray, Blade Dance, Acrobatics, nothing like that. I'd probably put it around C tier. This feels like a C tier card to me. I probably like it a little better than Dash usually. Oh, something like that. I think it can be an enabler. If I don't have a great way to solve a boss fight in Act 1, I've certainly taken it. But also, I've lost on the Act 1 boss quite a few times, so take that for what it's worth. I think I'll go ahead and throw Defend in Buns tier. Not much to say about that. It's a starter card. Maybe there's a case to be made that the Silent likes defends a little more than strikes in the long term, just because you have, like, a footwork in the pile. And, like, if you get some more attacks, after you get your attacks online, strikes become much less important for the Silent, although early on, I will say having attacks is mandatory to survive as the Silent. Kind of struggles to do damage in Act 1 from time to time. I think everybody agrees that seems to be the biggest hurdle. But yeah, Defend will take up the first slot in Buns here. Deflect. Certainly a little better. One of those cards where if you have a way to boost your defense, this is 4 block for free, 7 block on upgrade, also free. If you get, you know, some decks going, maybe you have a ton of card draw, which is, you know, we've shown is totally feasible. Deflect can be really good. It can just be free block that maybe scales a little bit and allows you to play a little more aggressively. But, you know, 4 block on upgrade, I mean, am I really upgrading Deflect that much if I have other stuff to upgrade? Probably not. I don't think this is a great card, but it certainly has had its use cases. I mean, we've taken it before. What do I like here? I'm also kind of thinking, like, your Pandora's Box, lose all your block. Like, I might not be unhappy to have Deflect at that point. I feel like this belongs in C tier. It's not... It really just doesn't have the upside to go much higher than that, but it's not like horrible. It's kind of just an average card, and that's what C tier is for. Die, die, die. Everyone tells me die, die, die is like great. I feel like maybe my problem is I don't upgrade it aggressively enough. I feel like 13 to all enemies is solid. It does exhaust, which, you know, later in the game, it's probably not enough to really move the needle, so exhausting might be good. 17 damage to all enemies upgraded. But I feel like I end up getting Die 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 as like an Act 1 boss reward. I get the birds, and then it really just doesn't do that much damage, especially if I haven't upgraded it yet. And that's what I associate Die 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 with. Now, if I get it through other means, I'm a little more happy to have Die Die Die. And if I get it early in the run, it's pretty good. I mean, I think it's a good card. I'm not trying to make the case that Die 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 is buns. Like, that's don't get me wrong. Where do I like Die Die Die? I think it's do I like it enough to put it in A tier? I don't know that I like it enough to put it in A tier. It's very close. I mean, how can I like... I mean, it's tricky, because you put it up against Dagger Spray. And Dagger Spray upgraded is 12 to all enemies, but it also hits twice, which can be good or bad. How could you not put Die 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 like right around there? I feel like Die Die Die... I'm gonna be honest with you. I know this is weird. I feel like I've gotten more out of Dagger Spray hitting enemies twice than Die 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 hitting them all once for a little bit more. It's very tough. I would kind of consider these roughly the same. Obviously, Die 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 does a lot more damage on the upgrade, but that's with an upgrade. I'll put it one above Dagger Spray. I think that's a fair ranking. I think some people might make the case that this is higher. I don't see it. I would maybe argue that as a rare reward, it might go a little lower. I'll compromise, keep it in low A. Let's talk Distraction. Distraction is buns. I will hear no more arguments on this one. Of all the, like, add a random whatever to your hand cards amongst all the characters, Distraction is the worst. I don't think that's debatable. There's too many skills that are not energy... There's no energy cost for it. Think Tactician. Think, what's the other one? Reflex. Maybe I get something like... What's another skill? I can't think of... Like, oh, I might get Storm of Steel, like, on a bad... Like, at a bad time when I've already played everything. A lot of duds. And I feel like it just doesn't always hit. Now, it's not impossible, but, like, on top of that, it also costs 1, so I want to upgrade it to get to, like, a zero-cost skill that might suck. I don't see it. I almost never take it. I feel like the Ironclad's, like, Infernal Blade is way better, like, much higher payoffs, and I'm comfortable putting Distraction below a Defend. That's a statement for the group. Dodge and Roll. Interesting one here. I like it. I think Dodge and Roll is a solid card. I probably take it maybe a little more than I should if I had to guess. I tend to think of Dodge and Roll as a great wombo combo with Footwork. Dodge and Roll, by the way, 4 block this turn, 4 block next turn, so kind of a deferred block, but on the upgrade, that'll put you at 6 and 6. And then I always think if I have a Footwork already, Dodge and Roll becomes much better. I mean, I can get 9 and 9, potentially, which is pretty good. Then if you have any other ways to synergize, or if maybe you have a Burst, I mean, that can be, 18 and 18. That's pretty good. I think Dodge and Roll has a place. I don't think it's the ultimate solution to block. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. You gotta stop hitting the mouse wheel. Sure, right there. I think I like it a little better than Deflect, but it's not dominant. I might even put it here. Yeah, I think that's good. I feel like I've taken Dodge and Roll more than some of these other C-tier cards, but I wouldn't put it on the same tier as Caltrops, Thousand Cuts, Concentrate. Like, those feel worse to me. I like this tier list. I like this better than the Ironclad one. Even watching back the Ironclad one like a day later or 2 days later or whatever, I was questioning my own rankings. Although I still stand by corruption. Corruption is obvious S tier. Let's talk Doppelganger. I feel like this is a card that can be difficult to play, or on an upgrade it can become much easier to play. Maybe like an obvious play even. I see Doppelganger as a must upgrade, but I have a soft spot for it more because I enjoy Chemical X. And if I get Chemical X, you know I'm hunting for Doppelganger. It becomes way better. I also tend to find that Chemical X and Doppelganger do not show up together most of the time. But maybe I kind of force that synergy sometimes. But even without Chemical X, the upgraded Doppelganger is good. Deferred energy and some extra card draw on a later turn, maybe more depending. Kind of saves a bad turn, although you do draw it. But if this is another one, if you have a lot of card draw and you have a way to block and then, you know, maybe you don't have the cards you quite want, I think Doppelganger can work. Now, is this going to win the run? No, but it's powerful. It's good. I like it. I'm not feeling so good about Crippling Cloud, to be honest with you. I would put this... I'm on level with you. I think Crippling Cloud on my tier list is lower than these other B tier cards, and I would certainly put Doppelganger higher than most of these. I think I might even say Doppelganger's a little better than Accuracy. Hey, but that's a rare card in B tier, so maybe some folks will actually think I'm underrating that, but I think when you don't get an immediate benefit towards ending a fight, hard to put a card higher than B that's kind of just deferring things. But Doppelganger's still a good card. Let's see. Where are we at here? Endless Agony. This is a weird one. I went from thinking Endless Agony was like the worst card in the game to thinking, wait a minute, Endless Agony is actually one of the better cards in the Silent deck. And then I kind of like went back on that and I was like, wait a minute, Endless Agony is trash. I was right the first time. I tend to lean more towards the bearish view of Endless Agony. I think it's not great. I'm looking at our stack here. By the way, Endless Agony, it's an uncommon, and deal 4 damage when you draw this card, add a copy of it into your hand, and exhaust. So, you know, 4 damage is basically nothing. It gets no benefit from accuracy. It's basically like a shiv that's worse a little bit. Now, if I'm playing, like, to play a lot of cards, you know, if you have some of those relics, then sure, Endless Agony can be good. In general, the Silent just likes those relics. But I still think there's better ways to do that. And with that in mind, I don't think Endless Agony can be higher than D. I think I would keep Endless Agony near the bottom of the pile. Do I like it better than Choke? I may like it a little better than Choke. I may even like it better than Bouncing Flash, but I'm not sure I'm going to go quite that far. I feel like Endless Agony is more takeable than Choke. I'm mulling it over. Yeah, I stand by that. I think that's good. I think Endless Agony, I probably like Bouncing Flask in certain situations a little more. I mean, these two are very close, but I'm happy with that ranking. Let's do Envenom. This is another rare card. This is whenever you deal unblocked attack damage, you put some poison on the enemy. 1, if it is unupgraded. It is still 1 upgraded, actually, right? Yes, it is cheaper. It is a 1 cost upgraded. And that to me alone makes it better than 1,000 Cuts most of the time. Now it's unlike maybe, what was the last one? Doppelganger. What was the card I said was a little worse? I said I was bearish on a card and I forgot which one I said that about. I'm more bullish on Envenom is the point I'm trying to make. I think Envenom, unupgraded is tough to play. Upgraded becomes a lot better. And there are decks that can make Envenom pop off. There's no doubt. I've had Envenom work. I don't think it's as high as I originally thought. I think early in my Slay the Spire days, I would have said A or B. I think I was mistaken on that. I think it's too slow to be A or B. But it can be a damage scaler in a deck that otherwise is not good at that. I'm thinking like a Shiv build where you didn't get accuracy, but you landed on Envenom. Got a little lucky maybe. Okay, it can work there. And you can really stack poison against some strong enemies to make those problems go away. Kind of a fun combo with Noxious Fumes. Prevents the poison from going down. There's use cases. I don't think it's better than my B tier. I will probably rank Envenom higher than the average person if I had to guess. I actually think I prefer it to Bullet Time. I think I would put Envenom a little higher than Bullet Time. Highly debatable choice there. Escape Plan. Another uncommon, one that I thought was extremely great early in my career is draw 1 card. If you draw a skill, gain 3 block. Here's the deal with Escape Plan. I feel like at face value, people think, draw a card, maybe get some block. If nothing else, replace the card. Yeah, but there's some times where that can be an active bad thing. And I feel like sometimes the risk of the negative downside of Escape Plan is not worth the potential reward of almost nothing. Example, if you are facing the Time Eater is the obvious one. If you want to get Snecko Eye, which as you play more Slay the Spire, you will realize is a good relic, that kind of ruins Escape Plan, or it makes it harder to take Snecko Eye even. I feel like I will take Escape Plan from time to time. If I have like a letter opener and I want to play some skills, that can work. But it's not quite as, I want to say, great as I thought, but I would put it in the hall of very good. Maybe somewhere like here. I mean, I would say if I see Escape Plan, I'd probably take it, you know, the expected number of times, maybe 30 to 50% of the time among a 3-card reward. I mean, that's like a little more than would be expected after a random selection for all of you statistics majors out there. We'll have to do a hypothesis test on that one. Got to get my my AP sisters working on that, guys. Go do some testing and let me know what you come up with. Yeah, Escape Plan is fine. Eviscerate, kind of a cornerstone of many a discard build, especially in Act 1. I almost never took Eviscerate for the longest time, and now I think Eviscerate can go ham. I like Eviscerate. Where would I put it on this ranking, though? Gotta give this some thought for a second. Okay, by the way, Eviscerate costs 1 less energy for each card discarded this turn. Can do 7 by 3 or 9 by 3. I'm debating this one pretty... that's tough. That's tough. I feel like I've taken it a lot. I mean, it's got. I'm looking at my other attacks in here. It's got to be better than Backstab, right? By like a good bit, even. I would put this as kind of a high tier attack, if anything. Is this kind of the highest? I mean, it's better than All Out Attack. I think it's better than All Out Attack for sure. I feel like I might rate this a little higher than Die Die Die. But it's not quite the cornerstone of many a run like Blade Dance. Blade Dance is such a good like found. It's like the brick and mortar of many runs. I tried to move the Eviscerate from my compendium screen onto this this tier list, so I'm glad you didn't have to see that. I would probably put it in A tier. I think Eviscerate is good enough to be A tier. It's a lot of damage. It's actually a little worse in this picture, but trust me, I did read it correctly. I mean, this high is 27 damage for free, and it hits multiple times, so it gets scaling. It's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's an A tier card. I feel good about that. Expertise. A card that maybe I undervalue. I keep saying card draw is kind of the most underrated mechanic in Slay the Spire, but somehow Expertise feels difficult to play to me. It's okay. Here's the deal. Expertise, let me find it. Where'd it go? Draw cards until you have 6, but it does cost 1. And on the upgrade, it is until you have 7, so it does not become 0. So you have to burn an energy to play this. That feels hard to me. I don't think I take Expertise that much. We've maybe had a couple situations where it did work, but I think I would put this in a lower tier. I don't know about Buns, though. I mean, it's enough draw. I think I put it high D tier. I feel like it's maybe a little bit more robust in many situations compared to Bouncing Flask, but I'm not ready to call this a C tier card. This is a little bit worse than I don't know what I would do to make this better. I mean, obviously making it 0 cost and an upgrade makes it a lot better. I feel like for an uncommon, like I'm looking at some of these other uncommons in the list in C tier even. We've got Dash and Backstab. Yeah, I would put Expertise a cup below those. That's a pretty easy decision for me, actually, the more I'm looking at this. I think this is right. Let's go with that. Finisher. More situational. More situational cards. And the Silent has many of them. I think Finisher is often kind of like overkill compared to like what you need. But I mean, can we deny that Finisher has been a cornerstone of many of our runs? I probably like it better than All Out Attack. But I think it's worse than Catalyst, so I think this seems like the spot. Deal 6 damage for each attack played this turn, and that, I believe, is still the effect. Yep, and then on upgrade, it is 8 per turn. Obviously, wants to play a lot of shivs. Seems like the obvious thing there. Maybe a situation where Endless Agony becomes a little more usable. But, I mean, we've killed some enemies with Finisher before. And anything that scales with something like Strength, as Finisher does. I mean, there's relics and cards and all kinds of ways to do that. Or if you have a way to make the enemy vulnerable. There's not a lot of them on the Silent. In fact, I think there's none of them outside of like getting a colorless card from the shop. But hey, I still think Finisher's pretty good. We're kind of actually leaning into a bell curve here. I wonder if this will keep going. Flechettes. I want to like Flechettes. I really, really do. 4 damage for each skill in your hand. I'm struggling to make Flechettes work. I feel like I either forget to play it, which is not fair to blame the game for, or I don't have card draw, so I can't really take it, or I don't have skills and it becomes worthless. I feel like good players use it though. I've seen some like strong players play Flechettes in their like active decks, and I feel like it does work. But somehow I stink at it. I'm gonna do the Jimbabwe ranking here. I'll call this high D tier. I feel like that is going to be a very spicy take. But I don't know what to say. I don't think Flechettes works consistently enough for me to put it any higher than that. A lot of other cards I'd rather have. Flying Knee. Do some damage and get some energy later. 8 damage to be exact. On the upgrade, you get 11 damage, but no additional energy. I like Flying Knee. I think it's a solid kind of like early damage card. I don't think I like it as much as Blade Dance for sure. It's kind of like just, a meh, like, I'm not unhappy I have you. This feels like a true C tier card. It feels like a C tier card to me. I am looking at these C tier cards. I probably think Flying Knee is more useful than Deadly Poison and Dash. Dodge and Roll and Bullet Time range, like that whole stack right there, feels about where I want to put Flying Knee. And I think I will. I think I'll put it here. I think I like it a little better than Dodge and Roll usually. But yeah, Deferred Energy sometimes tough. It's not a bad amount of damage for one. If it's an early card reward, I'll probably take it. Gives you some damage that you desperately need, and a way to play more cards later. I think Flying Knee is a serviceable common attack. Footwork. This is a good one. Obviously the kind of thing that needs some pieces around it, and you got to be blocking through cards that say block, that have the keyword block. But, I mean, if you get those, you might even take 2, maybe 3 footworks if you really want to blow the doors off. Footwork's good. It's one of the better powers. Anything that gives you kind of a permanent stat in a fight, in long fights, is just kind of critical. And I think Footwork is a good card. I feel like it can be a trap. And by the way, let's see. Footwork, 2 decks here. I think that is correct still. Footwork. 2 dexterity, 3 on the upgrade. I think people can get trapped playing this when they don't have enough block on the deck. I think I've actually fallen into that a few times, maybe earlier on in the one last drive, where I took 2 footworks kind of speculatively, and then I didn't have much block density, I guess is what I'll say. I am, the base defends. Maybe I even cut a defend, and then all of a sudden footwork is more or less a dead card, because I have like 4 defends and that's it. Hard to blame footwork for that. I still think it's a good card. I would probably put it somewhere in here. I think it's an A tier. I think it's better than accuracy for sure. I probably think backflip is a little more... It's more usable in more situations. But footwork, I think... I'm happy with that in A tier. Glass Knife. All right. We're into another rare card here. And Glass Knife is do a lot of damage and then get a little worse. And in a long fight, that might feel bad, but it's a lot of damage. Most fights will be over by the time this goes down to 0. And Glass Knife is 8 damage twice, decrease it by 2, or start it at 12. 24 damage for 1, with scaling if you have it. Hard to imagine. I mean, I like Glass Knife better than Die. I'll just come right out and say that right away. And it's so valuable if you get it early. Falls off later in the game. I don't think it's going to be like a backbreaker for big fights, but I think it's better than Eviscerate. I mean, because you can do 24 damage for 1 on an upgrade, and it isn't a card you want to upgrade. Obviously, it's a rare. It does get a little worse. I don't think it's the cornerstone of many a run like Blade Dance, but if you get it, you're happy to have it. I've seen great players make Grand Finale pop off. And look, I get it. How many of us, outside of just lucking into Grand Finale by accident, like I played an attack potion, I was given Grand Finale, and I already had 0 cards in the draw pile, so I played it. I really... People are going to hate this, because I know people like Grand Finale. I'll put you in buns. I think Grand Finale requires so much insane setup to be good that it's like, for a rare, it's taking up a rare slot. Think about that. That's After Image, Adrenaline, Burst, Alchemize, Corpse Explosion. I mean, like, Malaise. Frankly, even like a Phantasmal Killer. Like, there's so many good rares. I almost... the stars have to align for Grand Finale to be my choice. And I don't think it ever was. I think we did play Grand Finale once or twice on the one last ride. Got to see the confetti come down. But I'm sorry. I'm drawing the line in the sand. Grand Finale is not as good as the community says. Although I will say I don't think they put it that high. As far as situational cards go, it is the most situational card there is. Let's talk about Heel Hook. I've cooled off on Heel Hook. I don't think I would rate this super highly. If the enemy has weak, do some damage, draw a card, more energy essentially becomes free. But otherwise, it's just a bad attack. And with that in mind, I don't see Heel Hook going all that high for me. I'm trying to think where I like this. Do I like it? I don't think I like it better than Backstab. I've liked that. I think sorting this as we go has been an effective approach. I think this helps me kind of sort out in my head what I think is good. I don't think I like it better than Flying Knee. I don't think I like it better than Dash. I might not even like it better than Bane. But do I like it better than Flechettes? Maybe a little. I'll throw it in C tier for that. I might even move it down. High D tier. I feel like these cards where it's like gain energy and draw, it's just not enough reward for the risk of it being terrible. And trust me, we have run into that. No doubt. I think I'm gonna put this in D tier. I don't like Heel Hook that much, and I'm never really like thrilled to get it. Maybe if I have an insane amount of weak generation, like I would take it in that situation, but it's not a dominant card. Infinite Blades. I might be a little more bullish on Infinite Blades in the community, but even then, I still think Infinite Blades is buns tier. I think I like it better than Grand Finale, though, and that might be enough to keep it, you know, higher than the community's rating. I don't think anybody debates. Playing a power to get a Shiv is not that good. That's very, very extremely deferred damage. And then the upgrade, it's not even free, it's just innate. I don't think I necessarily want Infinite Blades to be innate a lot of the time. Are there no use cases? No. But Buns Tier is not necessarily for no use cases. It's for niche use cases to the extreme. And I think Infinite Blades perfectly embodies that theme. But I definitely have taken it more than Grand Finale. If I have absolutely nothing else, but maybe I took accuracy like an idiot before anything else, then Infinite Blades becomes a little more useful. It's not that good. I don't recommend building your run around Infinite Blades. Now, on the other hand, I don't recommend building your run around Leg Sweep, but it is a very good card. And this is going to be one that ranks much higher than Infinite Blades for sure. I think that I got caught up in it being expensive. It is 2 weak and 11 block. That will block a lot of problems in many fights. I mean, just the weak and the block alone probably gets you by. Even in a big turn, like you're fighting maybe the automaton, if you've stripped the artifact off of him, then Leg Sweep can really get you through the big hit. Hard to imagine this is lower than B. I mean, I'm looking at B tier. I mean, this would be the top of B tier. Is it higher than B tier, though? It's probably higher than B tier. I think this is probably an A tier card. I think I do like Leg Sweep better than Eviscerate, Die, and Dagger Spray. Maybe even Glass Knife. I think Leg Sweep is better later into the game. I might even put it above Footwork. I'm really moving it up here, but I'll stop it there. I think I've seen the light on Backflip. I think Backflip is a hair better all the time. But Leg Sweep is a great card. I think I'm comfortable saying that it's useful enough in enough runs, and especially if you have some energy. I mean, Leg Sweep is relevant the whole way. Malaise! I'm telling you, when I started playing, I never took Malaise, and what a fool I was, especially as somebody who loves Chemical X. Are you crazy? Malaise can just end fights. There are enemies that will never do damage ever again. And next thing you know, you get Malaise Plus, you can do it for free, you can take away strength. Sometimes one strength, like taking away one. By the way, Malaise. Enemy loses X strength, apply X weak. That means if the Book of Stabbing is hitting you 5x5, and you take away 2 strength, it becomes 3x5. That's permanent block. That's very good. And you can get more than one somehow, and you know, if you upgrade it, they're X+1. It's a good card. It is a good card. I think Malaise is in the conversation for our next S tier. Maybe... I like it better than Corpse Explosion. I feel like there's situations where you can't take Malaise, though. That's the one thing I'm going to say compared to these top 4. There's almost no situations where I don't take these. And I think I like Corpse Explosion maybe a little better. That might be personal preference. We'll zoom out a little. There you go. You get to see the nice search bar there. But it's a good card. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna argue with that. So many fights are solved with Malaise, and there have been times where, you know, I burst Malaise, and maybe it's against the heart, and that really just keeps me safe for a long time. If you're not sure about Malaise, I'd recommend you give it a try. Let's try Masterful Stab. It is a 0 cost, but it gets more expensive every time you get hit. 0 cost card for, let's see. Where is it here? For 12 damage or 16 upgraded. One of those things, if you get it early, it's probably a little bit usable. But it falls off. I don't think I like it better than Backstab, for sure. I'm looking at my... I mean, I like flying. Yeah, I'm gonna put it down here, maybe. Yeah, I think it's okay sometimes. I might even put it here. I think I do like it better than Heel Hook. If I have no burst damage early in a run, I would take Masterful Stab, given no other options. But, I mean, you're going to take some hits. That's the nature of the Spire. There's no run Ascension 20 Heart Spire to the ground, you know, without taking hits. So it's going to fall off, and it's eventually going to be unplayable. I mean, think of the heart. You get hit 5 times or something. Next thing you know, you can never play Masterful Stab. It's a curse. But there's times where I'm happy to see it. Let's hydrate here. So let's hydrate the old voice. Okay. I'm ready to go. Neutralize. A starter card, but this is not a Buns tier card. I think Neutralize is good. I would actually maybe say Neutralize is better than a D tier card. I think Neutralize, as far as starter cards go, is very strong. It is a 0 cost, 3 damage, but weak. And upgraded. Very good upgrade. 2 weak and a little extra damage. 2 weak is a big deal. I'm ready to put that in C tier, I think. Yeah, it's not going to be a run winner, but I'm not removing Neutralize basically ever. And if I get like the card game where you get to play the matching game for more and I get Neutralize again, I'm pretty happy about it. And loves card draw and is essentially a workaround for some block. So I would say if you want to fight me on Neutralize, think about how often you've removed it through the run. I would bet you never have. Not on purpose. However, let's talk Nightmare. A card that maybe I wouldn't remove, but certainly not takeable in every situation. But it can go crazy. It's very, very, very situational. Nightmare will kind of cost a lot. It is either 3 cost or 2 cost if you upgrade it. Choose a card. Next turn, add 3 of that card to your hand. Okay. When is that good? I might have a great 0 cost card. I might have a great thing going with Catalyst. Or maybe I even have like Adrenaline, or maybe I even have Alchemize. That's a 0. I mean, like, there's a lot of good ways to make Nightmare go crazy, but there's situations where Nightmare is too expensive, you take too much damage, and you just can't play it. I don't think it's a must-have by any stretch, but it's a good card. I'm looking at my B tier as kind of a landing spot for this. I think I probably like it somewhere in mid to low B tier. I would put it over Escape Plan for sure. I kind of like it right there. I think it's pretty good. It's not... I can't put it A. There's no way it's A. I think I like Doppelganger better, and like I feel like there's so many moments where I'm like, oh, Nightmare. This just can't work here. However, I will give it some bonus points for the amazing new animation in Slay the Spire 2. If you haven't played Nightmare in Slay the Spire 2, go try it out. It's very cool. Let's try Noxious Fumes. A card that I have learned you cannot take early. This is not your damage solution, but is it passable? I would say, yeah, it can be. It depends on what you're doing. But if you have a way to get some poison out there, and you need a way to kind of sustain that, or you're looking to strip down some artifact, it's playable. I'm looking at, I'd probably put it a little bit above Envenom. I can't put it below Envenom. I think Noxious is a little better than Envenom most of the time. I'm something like, I might put it right next to Nightmare. It's not dominating, but it's a nice little like step up in damage, and if you have other poison synergies, it can work. And the kind of thing where if it is going to kind of be a source of damage, you might even take more than one, although I have not done that very much. I'm convinced that's a little slow. But there's builds where Noxious can help you out. And I've certainly had some wins with it, so I don't know that I'm going to crap all over it because I took it early in a bunch of runs and died. That seems a little unfair. Outmaneuver. Deferred Energy. I think Outmaneuver is kind of in the same vein as Concentrate for me. It is, let's find it real quick. It is a common, so it pops up a lot. It is also Deferred Energy. Next turn, gain 2. On the upgrade, it's gain 3. It's hard to wait and also pay to use the card. Yeah, I don't think I can put this much better than Concentrate. I might even kind of like it a little less than Concentrate, because the upgrade on Concentrate, not only is it free, but you discard 2 instead of 3, which can be way, way, way better. I don't think the community hates outmaneuver or likes outmaneuver. But we'll see. We'll see what they say. Phantasmal Killer used to be a 2-cost card. That is not the case anymore. Phantasmal Killer. It is a deferred effect, but it's a powerful effect for sure. Next turn, do double damage. Upgrades to 0. You love draw. You love playing shivs. You love... I mean, there's a lot of things to love with Phantasmal Killer. Somehow the deferred effect of Phantasmal Killer feels a lot better to play. Maybe because it can cost 0 in the latest version of Slay the Spire 1. But I like Phantasmal Killer. Maybe even more so than the average person. But I think this is fringe A tier for me. Do I like it better than Doppelganger? Yeah, I think I do. I think that's the debatable selection. I do think Dagger Spray has more general utility. I feel like Phantasmal Killer can't always work, but it works often. I find Phantasmal Killer to be a good rare. And it's one of those things where, like, if I get it and I don't have another obvious synergy with the rare card that I'm, getting as a reward in, like, a boss fight, Phantasmal works. I feel like it's a very broadly applicable card. Let's try Piercing Wail. It's a common, but I got news for you. In case you were wondering, Piercing Wail is easily S tier. It's essentially a mega block at the end of the day. Piercing Wails, and all enemies lose 6 strength this turn. That is an AoE 6 block card that has the potential for way more. If somebody's doing, 14 times 3, next thing you know, it's 8 times 3. That's a big difference. And it can be even more with the upgrade. It can be even more if other enemies are attacking. I implore you to see the light on Piercing Wail if you haven't already. I know you see the common border and you think like, it's fine. And by the way, exhaust is like, almost a good thing. If you're just trying to get your run set up or like a fight set up. But Piercing Wail is an easy S tier. Definitely play with that card. I think there's an easy case to be made that maybe more than one of them in a deck is good. And applicable on many, many, many late game fights. So I like Piercing Wail. Poison Stab. This is another one. I kind of put it in the same tier as like a Flying Knee. I think it's okay. I probably actually rate it a little lower than Flying Knee, if I had to be honest with you. It's kind of like one of those, if I'm getting it early in a run, I have all strikes and defends in the base cards. Poison Stab can help get me by. It's some decent damage against Act 1 fights. But it's kind of worthless later in the game. I mean, I guess if I have no other source of poison, and I'm running some kind of poison build, that's probably already an L at that point. So, yeah, I think I would put this below Flying Knee for sure. How much lower? How much lower do we want to go here? Do I like it better than Deadly Poison? I don't think so. And frankly, I don't think I like it better than Dash. I might put it kind of on the same level as Bane. Bane maybe even a little better. It's a tough call. I think Bane is just a little more upside and stays a little more relevant. Yeah, I think Poison Stab below Bane is reasonable. I'm actually kind of wondering, like, something like that. I feel like Deflect is a little more takeable than Poison Stab, even. I could be swayed on that one, but I think C tier is the appropriate tier. Predator. A card that I have underrated, I think. It is a 2-cost card. Predator is in the latest patch. Let's just double check. Where am I here? Oh, 15 damage, draw 2, upgraded 20. I mean, just kind of think like draw 2 immediately. It's an immediate benefit. If you have 0-cost cards, that can be great. If you have something like a Phantasmal Killer from the turn before, that can be 40 damage. Which, it's kind of a heavy hitter. And the Silent doesn't have a wealth of options in heavy hitters. And having some draw with it, you kind of combine that with a discard synergy where you can get more energy or 0-cost build. Predator can be pretty good. And I tend to think that Predator is one of the, as far as expensive cards go, is one of the better ones in the Silent pool. Also kind of plays nice with stuff like a Snecko Eye or Energy Relics in general. But where would I rank you? I like Predator, I think enough to at least go to B. I would at least go to B tier. Would I like it more than that? Is it low A even? I like it better than Finisher. I think for sure. I think I'm going to put it in B. I think sometimes the expensive nature of this card can make it hard to take, depending on what deck you're running or how early in the run you are. But it's good. It is good. I think more frequently useful than Catalyst even. Nah. I think I like Catalyst for the upside a little higher than Predator, but Predator's a good card. Okay. If you were listening earlier, you'll know that Prepared, draw one, discard one, draw a negative there and people get scared. But Prepared is good. You want discard on the silent. There's a lot of discard synergies. And the upgrade here is really what makes it great. Prepared's a good upgrade. Draw 2, discard 2. You have more options and more chances to hit that discard bonus. And I think Prepared is a very, very solid common card. And 0 cost makes it very takeable. Now, it's not going to dominate the run. It's obviously one piece of a larger puzzle. But I think it's a B tier. I think I put it like right around there. Maybe even I put it above Noxious. Maybe. Honestly, I'm kind of like... maybe something like that. Yeah, Prepared's pretty solid. Prepared is pretty solid. That's a hard one to rank. I'm very willing to put it in the top half. And by the way, let's make this a little smaller again. There you go. Yeah, there you go. I don't think it's A tier. It requires too much help to be A tier. I think that's B is a hard cap. I'm happy with that. Let's go with B. Stretch break. Everyone take a stretch break. But we're moving along here. Let's try Quick Slash. Getting later in the alphabet. 8 damage, draw a card. I feel like Quick Slash feels like it should be good, but it's kind of like a worse Pommel Strike. I mean, it is a worse Pommel Strike. It's damage, draw 1 instead of damage, potentially draw 2. But it's not terrible. There's all these commons in the silent pool that are like, I'm happy to get them early, and then they're not, I don't want to say horrible, but not doing much late in the game. And I think Quick Slash is kind of in that bucket. I would rate it, I think I like it a little better than Poison Stab. I'll say that. I don't think I like it better than Bane, though. I feel like in general, I'd probably put it one above Deflect, though. Because Deflect is not as valuable early in the game. I kind of feel like Poison Stab, though. You could debate that, too. I feel like this is appropriate. I'll put it in the C tier. It's kind of like a very meh card. It's something. If I got nothing, I want something. It's kind of a Family Guy negotiation. Like, we want everything. We'll give you nothing. Well, we want something. Deal. That's Quick Slash. But Dagger Throw, on the other hand, like, while I would bucket it in that same kind of, it's an Act 1 good card that maybe falls off, I feel like Dagger Throw is a little better than that. The discard, it does quite a bit of damage. 9 damage unupgraded, 12 upgraded. Draw 1 discard, so, it's draw neutral. And you get the discard bonuses where applicable. This is like an up there common attack. I don't want to consider rarity too much, but it is a consideration. I'm looking at it compared to Dagger Spray. I don't think I would necessarily put it higher than Dagger Spray. I feel like it's a high B tier card, maybe low A. But I probably think Doppelganger's a little better. Something like this. That puts Dagger Throw high in B tier, Fringe A tier. If you want to kind of shift the top couple around, I could be convinced that that's a good idea. But Dagger Throw, I guess my issue is if get offered it later, I'll probably never take it. But if I get offered Dagger Spray in some situations late, maybe in Act 2, I would, if I have an elite coming, I might still take it. Yeah. You could argue that Dagger Throw could be a little higher, but I'm happy with that. Reflex. This is, if you discard me, draw some cards. How many cards, you ask? 2 cards. Or 3 cards, if upgraded. I like Reflex. It's one of those kind of like, you either have the stuff to make it work, or you don't. I would not recommend you take this without the stuff to make it work. I think if you don't have discard yet, outside of maybe your starter Survivor, I would not recommend taking Reflex. But that said, it's great when it's great. And I'm trying to decide what that means. I feel like highly situational has got to be B tier, but it's better than Escape Plan. I feel like when you get that build of discard synergies going on, like get it online, it can really go. And for that, I'll reward Reflex a little bit. I'll put it in kind of mid to high B. I think I'm looking at these other cards below it. Yeah, I probably like Reflex a little more frequently than those. It just feels so nice to draw when you have the discard build. It can really get the deck moving. And it can like keep a turn going well past its welcome stay for the enemies, I guess. Good card. A Riddle with Holes. I'm gonna come out and say I think I know the community opinion on Riddle with Holes is it stinks. And if you're wondering, 3 damage for 5 or 3 damage 5 times or 4 times 5. But I think that Riddle with Holes, I like cards that are synergy friendly, and I feel like Riddle with Holes is very much synergy friendly. Can you imagine like Sneko-Eye, Fajra, Guria, or maybe you even have Envenom. Like Envenom can do something with Riddle with Holes. There's a lot of times where I feel like Riddle with Holes is takeable, and I think it's not the like Buns tier card that the Slay the Spire community has landed on. Now, that doesn't mean it's great. It doesn't mean I'm going to put it in A tier. I feel like C is going to feel high to some people, but I think I like it better than Bane. That's debatable. I feel like Dash and Riddle with Holes kind of fall in the same category, but I guess technically Riddle with Holes gives you a little bit less in the way of raw statistics, but it is targeted damage, which is very valuable, and I'm comparing that to Dash here. And obviously if I upgrade it, it does do, 20. Yeah, hard for me to make a case for above Dash. I might even put it below Bane, to be honest, but these two are maybe flippable. I think I take Riddle with Holes a little more with Bane, which does not mean it's better, but on my Jimbabwe tier list, you're going to have to deal. Yeah, synergy-friendly, high-damage attack that, is not always playable, but sometimes can work. Now, setup, on the other hand, I think is ass garbage. That's what Brother Jimbabwe would say for a bad card. I think setup sucks. And setup it's uncommon. It costs 1. Put a card from your hand on top of your draw pile, it then costs 0. Is it impossible to play? No. I mean, if I have something like 1,000 cuts or bullet time or a lot of card draw or a nightmare or, it likes expensive cards. But it's slow. I mean, there's no other way to say it. If you have a crazy amount of draw, then sure, it upgrades to 0 cost, which is a significant boost. But I think that I would put setup in either D or Buns tier. I might put it a little above Outmaneuver, but it's down there for me. I don't think... There have not been a lot of times where I'm like, oh man, setup really is the driving force of this win. I mean, sometimes I feel like if you get lucky and it works, then you're happy, but I will say I kind of like the vibe they went for here. It's a bear trap, like the Silent is a huntress and trapper. Like, this is kind of like leading into that motif with like, oh, you got to set up your deck the way you want it, and then boom, big attacks. But setup it's too hard to work consistently. Now, on the other hand, Skewer, we have had tons of situations where Skewer works well. Now, X cost, uses all of your energy, it gives you some flexibility. I kind of put this around Dagger Throw. For me, I feel like another synergy-friendly card. Certainly like it better than Riddle with Holes. And, by the way, that is 7 times X or 10 times X. And with the chemical X, it becomes a lot better. Or a way to generate energy. Or you just play it late and you have some strength. There's a lot you can do there. I definitely like it better than Finisher and All-Out Attack. I'm looking at... I think I see Skewer as a B tier. I'll probably take it a little less frequently than Dagger Throw, but it's a good card. Yeah, I feel like we've had runs where it's been great. There are times where it's untakeable. It's a good card. I think that's another one that can move up and down pretty easily. Slice, and we are coming down to it here. We are in the last row. Thanks for sticking with me. Slice is 0 cost, 6 damage, I think. And it is a common. You know, upgrades to 9. 0 cost is sometimes nice. A lot of synergies there, but I really don't think Slice can be, you know, that much higher than C. I mean, it's not. You're not winning a run because you have Slice. I would probably put it maybe in here. I think I like Backstab a little better. Maybe even Cloak and Dagger. But Envenom and Bullet Time can be hard to get off the ground. Maybe I would put it below those. Do I put Slice above Dash and Riddle with Holes? Maybe not, actually. Maybe above Riddle with Holes. I think it belongs in C tier. I think I do like it a little better than Quick Slash and Bane. It's a serviceable amount of damage early in the game, and if you get card draw, it can stay at least a little relevant, although it's still not very good late. But that's, like we said, you got to get over the hump as the silent early, and if you don't, you die. So Slice is a part of that. Sneaky Strike. This is a weird one. I think Sneaky Strike has worked for me. And so, if you have the discard build going, I think Sneaky Strike, especially mid to late Act 1, if you already have some discard, can be playable. I don't think it's as good as I once thought. I certainly wouldn't recommend taking like 3 of them, which I have done on a number of occasions. I think Sneaky Strike is actually kind of a lower tier card than I originally thought. I do think I like it better than Masterful Stab. And by the way, Sneaky Strike, 12 damage if you have discarded a card this turn, gain 2 energy. Keep in mind, that is worse than costs less every time you have discarded a card, because you could play a card that makes Sneaky Strike at 2 unplayable, and I have done that all the time. I'm pretty sure I did that on the one last ride of quite a few times. Easy mistake to make. That doesn't make Sneaky Strike bad. I don't think it's enough damage to merit, you know, this is my engine consideration, but it's enough damage to think, yeah, I have maybe 1 or 2 discard cards. Maybe I got Dagger Throw early. I'm fighting some elites in Act 1. I think Sneaky Strike can help me get by. I think in that situation, Sneaky Strike can work. There are some other kind of funky ones. Like maybe you found a way to make Sneaky Strike free. Got it in a potion, got it in Dead Branch, got it in an attack potion, you know, like whatever it is. Or maybe a Snecko Eye, so it's cheaper. You could actually be an energy positive in those situations, so you could come away with more than you started. And in those kind of like oddball moments, you know, Sneaky Strike becomes worth more consideration. So keep that in mind. Storm of Steel. I thought Storm of Steel was awful. I still don't think it's like great, but I'm going to be honest. I think Storm of Steel might be better than I originally thought. We made some high level runs work. Or high Ascension level runs work with Storm of Steel. And the idea here is you discard your hand and replace it with Shivs. And if you upgrade it, they become Shiv Plus. Another one that loves card draw, as you'll notice, none of these cards explicitly say, draw cards with me. But if you're playing the Silent, you should assume that a lot of these cards say that, because that will really help you. I think I should have thought of that before I started not playing Backflip. I think it would have helped. Let's think about this. Storm of Steel. If you have a dagger run, it's great. If you don't have a dagger run, it becomes a little bit harder, but I don't think it's unusable. Now, do I think it's like a take every time? No, I do not. Do I think it's better than Envenom and maybe Bullet Time? Yeah, I think I do. I think I would actually maybe put it a little higher than the average person. I think I'd put this in B. I don't think it's good enough to be A. I might even say it has a little bit more utility than Nightmare. But that is a debate. I'm going to throw it in B tier and let the community yell at me. But I'm thinking Storm of Steel. You know, you get an accuracy and some card draw. That can ruin some days. And I think we had a Dead Branch run with it one time. Obviously, we exhausting Shivs that can go crazy. And honestly, there's other synergies. Think of like an Unceasing Top. If you have cards that discard and give you an effect that are in your hand when you play Storm of Steel. Also, you can play cards first that you don't want to discard. There's a lot of control there that I think some of the other cards that are my lower tiers don't have. And for that reason, I'll keep Storm of Steel in B. Strike is buns. I think I would put it a little higher than a defend in the silence case, just because you gotta have them. Like, I don't think you're transforming 2 strikes, you know, out of the gate, just because you risk getting no attacks and dying, because you already struggle to do damage. So I'll give it a little bit of a nod for that. But in general, on the silent, unlike maybe the Watcher, you're removing strikes and most likely defends. Sucker Punch. I like Sucker Punch. I think I tend to see this as kind of a neutralize kind of card. I like the upgrade on Sucker Punch. It makes it 1 week or 2 week instead of 1 week. Let me click on it here. Let's confirm the exact effect. 7 damage 1 week, 9 damage 2 week. Pretty solid upgrade. It's kind of like a hybrid block attack. I would probably say, of all of the common attacks besides like Dagger Spray and Dagger Throw, Sucker Punch is one of my favorites. I would rate this higher than Flying Knee, and I might even put it a little bit higher than Backstab, but I'm debating that. I don't think it's better than All Out Attack, though, so I think that kind of locks me into the BC range. I think Sucker Punch is a B tier. There's enough fights that, like maybe some boss fights. Like I'm thinking Hexaghost and Guardian, where Sucker Punch can really help. And weakness it remains relevant throughout the whole game. I'm willing to throw that in low B, I think. It's a very serviceable attack. I think you could make the case it probably belongs here or maybe down here. I would put it above Envenom. I think I take it a lot more than Envenom. And more useful on more runs. But that's a common that I think can really do some good work. Let's try Survivor. This is a starter card. Unlike the Ironclad, the Silent has 2 non-strike defense in their starter deck. Survivor being the other one between Neutralize and Survivor. Discard a card and gain some block. 8 block, I believe, is the right answer. Yeah, 8 block and then 11 on an upgrade. The discard is a good thing. I think we've established that in most cases. You kind of have control over when you play it. I like Survivor. It's not Buns tier. I think kind of like Neutralize. I think Neutralize is better. But Survivor is not getting cut. I might put it down in low C tier. I think it's a decent card. I'm trying to think, do I like it even better than that? I don't think so. I think I don't want to spend too much time mulling over a starter card, but I think I might even like it better than like Deflect, maybe a little lower than Deflect. How about right there? I think C tier for both of these starter cards. That's a very nice. I'm rewarding solid starter cards, and I think that Survivor is very reasonably placed below Neutralize. I don't think anybody would pick Survivor over Neutralize as a better card. Tactician. This is another discard synergy. Discard it for energy. On an upgrade, get even more energy. I like Tactician. My instinct is to put it next to Reflex. I certainly think it's a little better than Reflex. I think more often than not, I would rather have the energy than the Reflex. But it's a good card. Even if you have minimal discard, just a couple discard cards in kind of a tight deck, I think Tactician can totally work even outside of a discard-only build. But where to put you? I think I like Tactician as high as B or even maybe A. Do I like it enough to put it in A tier? I don't think it quite makes it there for me. I'm going to put it top of A or top of B. It's fringe A. I think I like it a little better than Doppelganger for sure. I think it's just a little too situational for me to put it in A. I'm really trying to hold these for like cards that are useful in a lot of decks, or are just insanely powerful. Yeah, I like Tactician and B tier. It's a good card. If you're discarding, it's a great card. But it can be a dud on occasion. Terror. I feel like I used to think Terror was great. I don't think it's quite as good as I thought. 99 vulnerable for 1, or 99 vulnerable for 0, and exhaust. It can put a lot of vulnerable on one. I guess there is vulnerable on the silent, I guess is the other thing I should say here. I think I said it, none of the cards do that earlier, but there is one. Terror is very good. Compared to, hold on. Very good compared to some of these bottom tier cards. Like, I'm looking at D tier, and I think it's better than that. I think it would be disrespectful to put Terror in D tier compared to some of these other guys. I think it's a C tier for me. I think it's C. I think there's times where you need to do some more damage. You don't have another way, and Terror can work. In a long fight, Terror can certainly work. And then once you get it upgraded, it becomes a lot more playable. How about something like this? If I put it below... I don't think I put it below Riddle with Holes. I might put it below that. I think this looks about right. Yeah. Terror, I think, becomes a little... It's a little harder to play than you think. Because you got to play it. It eats an energy if you don't have it upgraded, and a card in your hand. And you got to start hitting the person, which might not be as easy as you think. You got to have the ways to do damage. But if you do, then sure, Terror can work. But I don't... This is not the game breaker I once thought it was. Tools of the Trade. I have heard arguments against Tools of the Trade. I do like it. I see this less as a draw engine. I feel like people don't like that you draw and discard one after playing it for a turn. It takes like a couple turns to get your value back on the draw, or get any bonus, I guess you could say. But you can make it cost 0 on an upgrade. And I really see this more as like a guaranteed way to trigger discard synergies. And with that in mind, I don't think it's as bad as people think. I think it is okay. I think it's okay. There are times where I wouldn't take it. I think it kind of belongs in this like middle of the road rare card stack. I feel like if you have the discard synergies, or maybe you have like the hovering kite where you get energy on a discard, I mean, that can be an engine right there. Or if you just have discard synergies already in your deck, then Tools of the Trade can pop off. I mean, especially if you get Reflex going, then you get that value back really quick. Yeah, I think it's an okay card. It's Unload. And we're in the final 3. People like Unload. It does quite a bit of damage. 14 damage for 1, discard all non-attacks. 18 damage for 1 on upgrade. I like it. I think it's a great attack. I think Glass Knife is better for sure. I think Die is also better. Frankly, I might even like Dagger Spray a little better. I'm looking at B tier for this one. It's kind of very similar to Dagger Throw, but it is a rare. I'm like noticing something else here. We're going to talk about this. I would put Unload in high B tier, though. I mean, that's a lot of damage. Can get you through Act 1, which, once again, is the theme here. And activate some discard synergies after you play some stuff. That's the one thing, like, discarding all non-attacks, but it only costs 1, so I can kind of control that a little bit. Yeah, I think Unload is a more than serviceable attack. I think it's a very solid way to deal with the riffraff. Well-laid plans. I'm looking at it in this little screen over here, and it's 0 cost? Excuse me? It's 1 now without an upgrade. Still 1 with the upgrade. It retains a card at the end of your turn, or 2 on the upgrade. Well-laid plans is a very good card. I've seen the light on this one too. I would not have rated it that highly at first. I found it slow, but it was put to me like this. I think Brother Jimbabwe may have said this to me. I can't remember. But it's really a way to guarantee you have the card you want at the time you need. And there's a lot of cards in the silent pool that command that. I'm looking at stuff. The last card, Wraith Form, is the best example. But maybe even something like a Tactician. Maybe something like a Leg Sweep. Maybe Malaise. Maybe Catalyst. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you want to retain to give you better synergy combos on the following turn. And I feel like this shines when you're blocking or wraithing your way out of a huge turn. Like, the classic example is Automaton Big Attack. I have Wraith Form in my deck. Haven't played it yet. I want to hold it for that turn. Get out of jail free. I mean, that's a run win. That's a fight winner for sure. Is it enough to be an S tier? It's in the conversation. I think it's A. I think it's an A tier. I think I would probably put it a little above Footwork. I might even put it mid to high A. A little higher than this. How about something like that? I think it's a little better than Blade. This is one that can be a cornerstone of a lot of different builds. And for that, I reward Well-Laid Plans. Give that one a look if you haven't already. That's a good card. Wraith Form. We were going to end this tier list on a definite S tier card. How high remains to be seen. But Wraith Form is great. Don't be scared of the downside. It is too intangible. At the end of your turn, lose 1 dexterity. I think it was a popular streamer said, don't worry about the dex. This is the timer to end the fight. If you can win in 3 turns, or maybe 4 turns if you have an upgraded Wraith Form, then it's playable. And that's really the way to think about it. It's a way you've put the enemy on a timer. You got to win quick because otherwise you can't block. However, if you can cleanse that debuff because the lose 1 dex is a debuff, then it becomes even better. Maybe you can play that with when you have orange pellets, or perhaps the artifact, or perhaps you just have other ways of dealing with it, like a potion. Combos well with a lot of things. Can really help in a lot of big, difficult fights. I think I'm willing to put Wraith Form maybe as high. I mean, certainly S tier. I think I like it a little better than Burst, even. I think I like it a little better than Burst. The other thing you'll learn, and I know we're not doing events here, but the Silent Likes Wraith Form combined with the Apparitions event, you can last forever. And I feel like the Apparitions event is one of the scariest ones, but that reward is just so strong. I would recommend you kind of poke at that one a little bit more. Okay. Wraith Form is in. This tier list is there. My bad choices are out there for the channel and the community to yell at me about. I can take it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's even more. Maybe not that much. Whoa, too far! Let's see what we got here. I'll read the S tier one more time. After Image, Adrenaline, Wraith Form, Burst, Alchemize, and Piercing Wail. Strong S tier group. I really think you could swap Adrenaline and After Image. I personally kind of like Adrenaline better. But After Image is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable. It's so good. You know what? This is my tier list, though. I think Adrenaline might be the best card in the game. I'll bump it over After Image. But other than that, Blade Dance is probably going to be poked at a little. I think it's a good common card, though. I like rewarding cards that punch above their weight class, and Blade Dance definitely does. I love the building block nature of it. I wonder if people won't like Dagger Spray. I don't know. I feel pretty happy with this. I'm not seeing any obvious issues. I think Flechettes maybe gets poked at. I'm looking at the lower tiers here. Is Distraction worse than Strike Defend? I'm gonna go crazy here. You know what? I'm gonna say yes. Because you have to take this. And it's also an uncommon. And it can actively hurt you. I think Distraction's awful. It maybe feels a little better sometimes if you get a high roll, but the high roll is not guaranteed, and that can really hurt you. But there you go. My silent tier list, the Jimbabwe silent tier list, coming from someone who stumbled on the silent through Ascension 15, and then somehow won a bunch in a row to get through Ascension 20, unlike the Watcher, who I basically have no authority to speak on. Somebody who is coming with a 31% win rate is telling you these are the best cards, so guaranteed to be correct. But I think we'll do the Defect and Watcher soon. And then I'm going to try the Solace of Flowers again. I want to respond to that team. I want to check that game out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, hit the like and subscribe button. Yell at me in the comments. I want to hear where I went wrong. This is a fun exercise. I think the tier lists are fun. Now I'm going to go back and rewatch some of the old tier lists from other YouTubers and streamers and see what they did. But until then, I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.